Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, August 1st. So today, welcome to the brand new month. We are focusing in on the energy that August is going to bring, which is making harmony in our lives again, seeing where the huge transformation is taking place and trying to bring together, to integrate both parts of self, the heart and the head, the good and the bad, the up and the down, the individual and society. We are blending things back together here this month, and we're going to have some huge help, of course, from the cosmos. So today, the moon is in Taurus all day, still providing us with an opportunity to ground, to center, to stay present in this moment in our physical form. The moon in Taurus provides us an opportunity to kind of retreat from the world, to stick to what is comfortable, what is familiar. We are very focused on our physical realms, our physical form, what our body needs. Now, we are in the releasing stage still. Again, we just had the last quarter moon in Taurus, providing us with a very gentle opportunity to release all the information, all the emotional baggage that we just got illuminated to that isn't going to serve us well, bringing that into the next chapter. So we are still kind of low and slow. We are still very much having our blinders on, just kind of sticking to our familiar zone, our comfortability zone. We don't want to push ourselves too much to be thinking outside of just today. And for some of us, it might just be minute to minute here today. But we are going to have to really be openly aware that we can't set up camp here. So there's 6 different aspects taking place throughout the day here. And surprisingly, the moon is only involved in 2 of them. Most of the time we have like serious moon activity. The moon is the planetary body, the luminary that creates the majority of the aspects throughout the day. But here we're getting a little bit of an emotional break. Again, the moon rules over our emotions, our unconscious self, our, subconscious patterns and habits and behaviors. And today we get a huge focus on our mental plane, on our heart space. Why? Because we're still defragging our mental program, our heart program. We are really having to dive into the details of what makes us tick, what bothers us, what brings us a sense of peace and joy and comfort, and really fine tune our new mental programming into the new script that we have been actively trying to rewrite in our mental plane. So right out of the gate, we have Mercury, the ruler of the mental plane, in Leo, still adapting to this new fiery, bold, brave energy of Leo, sextiling the true node. As you know, the sextile is a good energy. It's a blending of energy. And of course, the true node wants to show us where it is that our path needs to go. It is our destiny point. And at this particular time, especially with the moon in Taurus, we're really not all about thinking futuristically. We just want to stay present in the moment as much as possible. But here's the thing, we are kind of disconnected from our futuristic vision and dreams at this point, but Mercury needs to bump into the true node just to recognize the mental growth that A, has already taken place and B, is still continuing. We need to remind ourselves of our purpose, of what is bringing us new meaning to our lives, what is exciting us, what is triggering us, especially where new ideas are concerned. And many of us are having new ideas when it comes to creative projects and when it comes to love and romance. That is that Leo energy, very much heart and soul led. We talked a little bit about Mercury being in Leo, kind of upping the ante, if you will, making us a little bit bold and brave and courageous in speaking our piece. And although Mercury does rule over communication as well, The moon is in Taurus. We don't want to talk. We want to stick to ourselves. We want to just, deal with our daily workings. We really don't want to be provoked and put in situations where we have to have, heart to hearts, or we have an opportunity to talk about our big dreams and our visions. So this is going to kind of agitate us in a little tiny bit of a way, because there's that urgency, there's that want, need, and desire to speak up, to speak out, to think futuristically. But again, that moon in Taurus is saying, you know what, don't get ahead of yourself. Let's just stick to what it is we know. Let's just stick to what it is we have to do today. Mercury goes ahead and conjuncts the sun. So just as we're kind of getting this aha moment where, we are transforming our perspective, where we are focused on new purpose, new meaning, new ideas, Mercury is so close to the sun right now that all we want to do is scream. Have you ever been in a library or in a situation where you're told that you got to be quiet, and then all of a sudden this overwhelming need for just to be heard, to sing, to scream comes over you. And then it's like a struggle. Like you almost feel like you're having a little bit of an anxiety attack, because what if you scream and everybody looks at you? What if, just when you're told that you can't do something, that's mostly when you want to do it. So Mercury sitting beside the sun right now, both in Leo, just ablazing. This is going to trigger a want, need, and desire to actually communicate our new thoughts and our new feelings, actually express ourselves and get whatever it is that we want to keep to ourselves, because of course the moon in Taurus wants us to just keep to ourselves. But Mercury and the sun, they don't want us to do that. They want us to speak out. They want us to express ourselves, especially with the new creative ideas. Now, here's where things get interesting. Tauran energy loves arts, loves beauty, loves creativity. So if for some reason we are put in a situation where we do get to express our new ideas, especially where the creative force inside of us just wants to be heard, wants to be acknowledged, wants to be seen, we are going to trump that moon in Taurus, and we will speak up and speak out against the moon in Taurus's desire, if you will. Because again, the moon in Taurus wants us to retreat, just wants us to stick to ourselves, and typically speaking, doesn't really want to speak out, especially on emotional matters, unless it is something of worth and of value. So speaking of worth and value, Venus, who is now in Virgo, who also rules over this Tauran moon. Venus in Virgo bumps into Chiron. Now, Chiron is retrograde in Aries. This is an illumination on where it is that we need to heal some wounds, likely connected to our ego, to our identity. Now, Venus, she's the goddess of love and beauty and pleasure and joy and self-worth. But she's really not feeling her best self as of yet in Virgo energy. She hasn't had a lot of support, encouragement by other planetary aspects in order for her to tap into the healing part that this Virgo energy wants to lend her. Instead, she's kind of hooked up on self-judgment, self-criticism, analyzing things right to death, especially where our pain and tension from relationship issues is still in existence. Now, this could lead us to a beautiful aha moment, a beautiful turning point in our relationships, especially with the earlier aspects of Mercury with the true node, Mercury with the sun, really encouraging us to speak out, to communicate, to express ourselves. If we do take that leap of faith and actually have a heart-to-heart, it can provide a huge amount of healing, especially in our personal relationships that are kind of under the spotlight at this particular point. However, Venus in Virgo would also like to keep things to ourselves. So we have the moon in Taurus encouraging us to just keep our mouth shut and to keep things to ourselves. We have Venus in Virgo kind of encouraging us to keep our mouth shut and keep all our feels and thoughts to ourselves. But let me tell you, Mercury and the sun, they are very forceful contenders here, and we might not be able to keep our mouth shut and keep to ourselves. And don't be afraid of this. If you are put in a position where you can have a heart to heart, where you can communicate, where you can express yourself, where you can share your emotions and your thoughts with someone who is important to you, by all means, take it, because that is the very pivotal point where we can provide a lot of healing in these conversations and in these relationships. Back to the moon, though, the moon in Taurus is sextiling Neptune. Now, Neptune is in her place of power, retrograde in Pisces. And the moon in Taurus, with this Neptune energy, a blending of energies, is going to make things super sensitive. That Neptune energy is hypersensitive anyways, because we're picking up on subtle energies in the cosmos, in ourselves, in our environment, from other people. It is very much highlighting our intuition. So we might have a gut reaction that, I know I want to keep to myself. I know I shouldn't speak out right now, but I really feel like if I do this, I can see the bigger, grander picture of how we can move past this situation, how we can heal this particular topic and theme. And realistically, it aligns us to our higher selves, where we might get out of our way. We might get out of our ego. Again, that moon in Taurus wants to root us, wants to keep us in our physical form, in our physical reality, in our physical environment where our ego is concerned. But that Neptune energy wants everything but that. That is our soul self, our spiritual self, our higher self. It is when we get great visions, great intuitive instincts on where we can abandon the want, need, and desire to stay in the present moment and the physical form, to see what would be possible if we pushed ourselves outside of our comfort zones, outside of our boundaries, and actually spoke upon some of the emotions and some of the ideas coming up for us. Now, Mercury in Leo sits across from Saturn, who is retrograde in Aquarius. Now, this is going to amp things up. This is really going to put a huge pressure on our mental plane. This is rapid thoughts, rapid thinking, very negative Nancy, looping in those negative narratives that we have been trying to overwrite. This is going to bring up our insecurities, our fears, our vulnerabilities. Why? Because, again, the push and pull from the previous aspects throughout the day is really kind of creating an inner conflict between what it is we want to do and what it is that we should do, what it is that we feel has to be done versus something that we wish we could just escape from. That Neptune energy that we just came out of definitely puts a highlight on where it is that we would rather not deal with reality at this time, where our emotions are maybe too much, where our intuition is maybe too much, where we don't want to rise to the occasion of bossing up and stepping up to our commitments, our roles, and our responsibilities. So when Mercury sits across the table from Saturn, as you know, Saturn is the Lord of karma. He tries to drill tough love life lessons into our head. He is trying to really keep us paralyzed in this negative narrative of lack of confidence, lack of desire to actually communicate. Mercury in Leo wants to be heard, wants to express himself, wants to paint a beautiful picture on what he thinks and what he feels. And Saturn retrograde is doing the inner journey, the inner renovation on thinking, on where it is that your thought process goes, on where it is that, maybe you should kind of restrain yourself a little bit from being that big, bold, beautiful, brave lion and speaking and roaring throughout the jungle to be heard. Maybe we need to put some blocks and restrictions there so that we don't, give too much information or overshare or overwhelm someone with just all of the passion that is boiling up in us. So Saturn's kind of going to provide us an opportunity to pump the brakes, if you will. And the last aspect that we have for the day is the moon in Taurus trining Pluto in a retrograde in Capricorn. So as you know, Pluto is the god of the underworld. He highlights for us all of the negative vibrations, all of the negative emotions. He illuminates where fears and insecurities and vulnerabilities have taken place within us, where we're too attached for them, where it is that we have to provide a certain death to the old in order to regain our power, take our power back, transform the pain into power, and where it is that we need to level up. The moon in Taurus, though, just wants to be stable. And we've had a little bit of a push and pull already throughout the day. And the moon in Taurus trining, which is a good energy with Pluto at this time, is going to lead us to a very intense emotional transformation. Why? Because we recognize the inner drama, the inner conflict. We recognize our hesitation to want to communicate, to want to connect, to want to share. We find that we're going back. We have to kind of move inwards and reflect back on all the times that, we spoke out and we didn't feel validated. We spoke out and we got rejected. We communicated our thoughts and our feelings and we didn't feel like we were heard. And so that kind of puts us in a little bit of a tizzy because it validates for us that, I'm better off to just keep my thoughts and my feelings to myself. And if you were lucky enough to get through the day without Mercury and the sun absolutely just triggering you into having, word vomit and just throw all your thoughts and feelings and ideas out into the world, if you were lucky enough to actually avoid that situation, then what you'll realize by the end of the day is this, I hate to call it a negative narrative. It's just a reflection on all of the times that you didn't feel validated, that you didn't feel heard, that you didn't feel like it was worth the energy, the effort to actually speak up and speak out. And from that, we have a choice point. We have the opportunity to either stay quiet, although that's not going to last very long, let me forewarn you, or we could, boss up and give it another go, because we recognize now that we are speaking from a more grounded and centered approach. We are speaking with a lot more confidence and clarity because, again, we're in the releasing stage of our emotions, of our thoughts. We have to get something out, but sometimes we have to have a little bit of a conversation, a practice run with ourselves before we go ahead and actually do it in front of other people. Regardless, this Pluto aspect is helping us kind of get a grip on the reasons of why we hesitate to share ourselves with other people and where it is that we can kind of rewrite that script as well, recognizing that, you might have got ignored, you didn't get the response that you wanted, you might have even got rejected in previous circumstances, but you also weren't standing in your power delivering that message at that particular time. And that is definitely something that has changed. So it's almost providing us with an opportunity to pep talk ourselves, amp ourselves up, because the opportunity is coming this week to speak up and to speak out and to be heard like we've never been heard before.